Hi, I would like to offer today the notion that the brain is the hardware and the software is the mind. Of course, this is not true. The whole situation is a lot more complicated than that, and we can talk about how evolution itself is just a wonderful hack. There is no real structures, etc. But we can actually I think it's a useful metaphor to think of the brain as the hardware and the mind as the software. And if you take this metaphor one step further, you can think about the different programs that are running in the software or the different users who are using the software. And in this case, mindfulness and the way to look at this whole system would be the perspective of the superuser. So what I would like to invite you is to see how you can step into your own superuser and how you can look down on your users and see what they are doing. A good way to spot the users if you go and just bump into some obstacles, or if you bump into an obstacle time and time again when you try to do the same thing, try to address your team a certain way or do a certain type of job, etc. So when you repeatedly find an obstacle in the way of your workings, that's a good point when your super user can step in and say like, oh, let's check out this user. What's happening here? This user seems to be getting awful lot of problems or the same problems in the awful lot of times, right? So at this point, you can actually switch the perspective, log out from your user actually, log into your super user, and then look at the problem from a very different vantage point, from the observer, right? You can actually look at your own set of users and say, oh, this user is great in that and not so good at this other thing, and this user is always bumping into the same obstacles here. What's going on? So this is a point where you can actually start to unravel, start to understand which is the user that actually needs some sort of a software upgrade in a way, right? That needs a point where they can actually go and step over this obstacle or find a way through the obstacle, around it, or actually figure out what the obstacle is and then solve this problem. So the whole idea is that you can actually, from your sort of mistakes or from those little points where you feel you're stuck and when you're doing things over and over again, just take a step back, take the point of view of the super user, and then the super user can actually look at the users and see which user is at fault here, which user has a problem here, and then you can go back and figure out what's going on here, why is this behavior happening, why do you have this belief going on, and how can you get rid of that obstacle. So try that, and in the next video I will go a little bit more into the beliefs and how these beliefs can drive these users into these walls. Bye-bye.